Hi, John Dwyer is my name, and you've come to this website, I'm guessing because you are travelling overseas in the near future, and you want to know what you've got to do before you go. I've got with me here today Dr Deb, and that's no surprise because this is Dr Deb's The Travel Doctor's website. Deb, thank you for joining me and putting up with these interrogative questions I'm going to ask you.
My pleasure, John.
Good. Now I'm going to pretend that I'm going overseas in the next few weeks, and I'm going to ask Dr Deb the sort of questions that I think you'd probably ask her if you could. Deb, tell me, what's the difference between the travel doctor and just a normal doctor?
Well, I guess, John, we obsess about travel health. We spend a lot of time learning about what the diseases are in the different places. We have lots of stuff in the clinic, if you like. We've got the right stuff. You've got the right stuff.
Good.
We've got vaccines, we've got malaria pills. We obsess about the cold chain of our vaccines. We have generators so that if the fridges die, we've got really good stability of our vaccines. So we know the vaccines that we're giving people are absolutely going to work. And that's not the case in many places.
Okay, so...
We've had GPs ring us and say, well, our vaccines have died. What have you done? And we said, oh, we didn't even know it happened because our generator kicks in.
Gotcha.
So cold chain is something that's not really appreciated. We have all the right information. We have the things that people need. We have the information that they need. So we can teach people about how to avoid jet lag and altitude sickness and ciguatera poisoning and all those things which really people don't ever want to know about. They just want to go on their trip, have a lovely time and come home and show the pictures.
When Deb mentions some of these big words, just the length of the words scares me.
Absolutely. You don't want to suffer them.
Deb, tell me this. The doctors that you have, or the doctors who are part of your clinic, they're very much a specialist, are they, in terms of travel?
Absolutely. We have an awful lot of extra training. Travel medicine has got much more specialised in the last 25 years. And now there are huge conferences. There are books on traveller's diarrhoea, which are this thick. People worry about which is the best pill to take in which country for diarrhoea and how to treat people who can't take tablets because, you know, they're kids and they can't swallow a pill. So we worry about all these things. Which is the best medication to treat motion sickness? A lot of people are given Stemetil for motion sickness, which doesn't work. And they think, oh, it's a nausea pill, so it'll work for motion sickness. So we have all that sort of information. And our doctors are also really keen travellers. We're always nipping off. And if people come to my clinic, often I'm not there because I'm off somewhere travelling.
Well, in fact, as we're recording this, you're off to, is it
Quebec?
Quebec?
Yeah, Quebec. And,
in 2 days' time?
In 2 days' time. We have the practical experience. We know that it's almost impossible to follow some of the guidelines that have been set down as things for travellers to do. So we can give practical advice about what to do and when to do it and really good travel tips about, you know, where to go in these places. So my patients love to come and see us because they say we really feel like we're travelling.
The way I look at it is this, is that you're sort of, instead of taking, if my car has some electrical problems, and I'm talking about my motor car, my vehicle, instead of going to a car mechanic, I would come to an auto electrician, a specialist auto electrician for electrical faults. So that's what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Well, on that basis, I've got a few problems with the electrics of my car. Could I bring my car? That was a dad joke, by the way. I forgive myself for that. That was a dad joke. Look, the other thing I wanted you to highlight, and you were mentioning this to us before we did this interview, and that is a wafer.
Oh, yes, the great wafer.
Tell us about the great wafer.
The great wafer.
For parents.
For parents, yes. Well, little kids, of course, can't always swallow tablets. And if they get vomiting, it's the parent's worst nightmare, having a vomiting child in some developing place where you can't get a doctor. You can put this wafer under their tongue and it will stop them vomiting enough so you can get fluids down and get ahead of the fact that they're busily dehydrating from their diarrhoea. Having these kind of tools in a medical kit is essential, and it's not well known outside the travel medicine circles that these are available. So people think, oh, I've been overseas lots of times, nothing bad's ever happened, it'll be fine.
You know, the reason I brought that up is because before we conducted this interview, Deb was telling me about the wafer. Now, I've got 6 children and they're old enough to look after themselves now, but at one stage we had 6 children under 12 many years ago, and I know that a few of the young ones had problems with taking tablets, so the wafer solution is
a wonderful thing to have, yes, and having those kind of tools can really get people back to their travels, and they're not spending a day or 2 days or 3 days in a hotel room stuck, vomiting and diarrhoea. It's just... It's terrible, but it's preventable. That's the thing that really makes me sad, that people will come to me and say, oh, I've been sick for 3 days, and you think, just take this pill and they get better.
Yeah, it's so easy. Tell me, in terms of travel agents and schools. We won't spend a lot of time on that because we don't know that specifically as travel agents or school teachers who are looking at this, but just briefly tell me about the duty of care those people probably should have.
Well, anyone sending anyone else overseas, so whether it's a company sending workers to work in Tanzania or Indonesia, or whether it's a school teacher sort of organising a trip for kids to go to Borneo to visit somewhere and build a school and, you know, paint things and interact with the locals, or whether it's a travel agent sending people on a lovely trip, everyone has a duty of care to make sure that each individual gets the information that they need. Like a travel agent would book the tickets and the visas and the passports and the accommodation and the flights. They also need to add to that list health. And the schools, they need to add, you know, what are we going to do about health? You can't travel if you're not healthy. It really wrecks your trip. And companies, you can't get work done if you're sick. So having the right advice and documentation that that advice has been at least given is very important.
It is, and I guess it does come under that phrase, duty of care.
Absolutely, duty of care. And
just as parents have a duty of care to look after their children if you're travelling to those sorts of countries.
Absolutely, and this day and age, people are getting more conscious of litigation. Everyone's getting much more litigation conscious, perhaps like the US. So it really is important that this sort of stuff gets taken very seriously.
And when someone comes in for a vaccination to your clinic, it's a pretty short procedure. It's sort of done within the hour, isn't it?
Look, we're very efficient because we have done this many, many, many times. We have good procedures in place. The person comes in, they see the doctor. We have all the vaccines in the fridge, so it's just a matter of saying, yes, here's the vaccine. We put it in the person's arm. We give them the medical kit. Everything's labelled. It's all documented, so they've got their letter that says that they're carrying pills on medical advice, because you can't just wander across the world with little blue pills. You've actually got to have all the right paperwork.
Yeah.
And it's all done very efficiently, and out they go. In other circumstances, people might have to get scripts filled and go to the pharmacy and get it and wait in line and then come back and have someone administer it.
Whereas you're a one-stop shop.
We're a one-stop shop, and you just go into the next room, and the nurses are really good at giving needles. You know, I have given lots of needles. If I had 10 cents for every needle, I'd be a rich woman.
Do you? And you give needles that don't hurt, of course. Don't
Absolutely,
you?
well we do. We have a lot of people who come in, John, who are really needle phobic. These people have had a terrible experience in their childhood, and they're really scared, and you know, they almost don't travel because they're so scared about having the needles. And we're very familiar with how to manage this, and we can, you know, 99.9% of the time get people vaccinated, and they just love us when they say, oh, thank you, Dr Deb, you know, this has always been worrying me and now I can have these needles. And so we're really used to that kind of
And you give me that impression. I know that we're doing this video on the website, so you would think that I need to be patronising, but even aside from that, the way that you are explaining your clinic services now, and I've spoken to you obviously a lot more than just on the camera, I'd feel comfortable. I'd feel really comfortable coming to your clinic, because I think you would make sure that it was going to be as painless as possible, both from a needle point of view, but also from a time investment point of view.
Absolutely,
you seem to know what you're doing, you get it done quickly, and you do it with not only just a professional sense of care, but also I think you sort of would put your arm around people's shoulders from time to time and make them feel comfy.
We do, and in fact the other thing that people really like is that we explain things in English.
Yeah.
I have a diarrhea flowchart, which is a bit of an unfortunate name, and we tested it with all our passengers. So we'd show them and say, does this make sense? Does this? And they'd say, no, this makes no sense. So we gradually made it tweaked and tweaked so that this is really clear. So people can come in, and we say to people, look, if you get diarrhea and you're travelling overseas, what you need to do is you need to go to the bathroom, deal with that side of things, come back out and swallow what we call the bomb. And the bomb is an antibiotic cocktail that allows you to kill the germ that's causing the traveller's diarrhea, so it makes you better. And instead of being sick for 4 days, you might be sick for 4 to 6 hours.
Gosh.
Now, that's a really good visual. Now, we mustn't talk about bombs on aircraft because the people get a bit funny about that, but it is actually quite good to carry it on the plane with you, because if you get sick on the plane, it's a long way to get any medical attention. So it's good to have these pills with you. So having this kind of ability to communicate with people and get them the information that they need so they can have a great trip is, I think, one of our strengths.
Last but not least, the kit. You were saying that, maybe not on the interview here on the video, but you were saying to me earlier that people walk away with a travel kit.
Yes.
That's what it is. And it's got a little booklet and it's got
Absolutely.
all
It's
the
got a little
tablets.
thing that says this is how to take all the pills and this is your approval letter to carry the medications through customs. It has the treatment for the 4 main things that happen to travellers, which are diarrhoea, chest problems, wounds and pain, and has some material for other things. And if someone's going cruising, then we put in motion sickness pills. And if someone's going to altitude, we put in altitude pills. And if someone's got lots of stuff at home, we just give them the bits they need. So they don't have to get a kit. But a lot of people do because it's got this nice little green cross on it, so it looks official. When you go through customs with drugs, you don't want to be thought of being a drug smuggler.
There's a plastic Disney toy in there, just like the Happy Meal.
McDonald's
like the Happy Meal. Good,
We'd have to work on the little plastic mosquito.
Well, I'm not sure that would be tasteful, but anyway, I'll work on that. I'm in the advertising game. I might be able to help you with that. Deb, now there's one question I know that everyone who's watching this right now wants to ask, and this is a question that we have to ask because you happen to be a doctor and you've got a doctor's clinic or surgery. How old are your Women's Weekly magazines on the coffee table? Are they at least this year?
That is a very good question. No, we don't actually have a Women's Weekly. We have National Geographic. We have these beautiful books on Etosha National Park. We have travel magazines and Gourmet Traveller. And I really object to these old magazines. I hate that. And you do have to wait after vaccines to make sure you haven't reacted. So we want to make the waiting experience kind of pleasant.
Terrific. It's just amazing when you do go to a doctor's surgery, though. You pick up the magazine and they say, Frank Sinatra is coming to Australia next week. And I don't think so.
Okay.
Deb, thank you very much. And look, whilst we've made this a little lighthearted and hopefully enjoyable for you to watch, it is a somewhat serious subject that if you are going to certain countries overseas, you better make sure that you are prepared. And that's what you guys are all about, is making sure people are prepared.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that they can have a healthy trip and come back and travel again. Because travel is such fun.
Yeah, it's a shame if you're bending over.
Oh, yeah. It's so sad when people spend all this money going on a lovely trip and they sort of skim. And we have all these people who say, I can't come into the city. Oh, no. And I say, you're going to Africa. It's really worth coming into the city to get a couple of extra things so that you'll have a great trip.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's crazy what many of us put our focus on when, in fact, we should be certainly focusing on this because...
Well, they just don't realise, people don't realise because they generally don't know anyone who's had hepatitis or typhoid or Japanese encephalitis or any of those diseases. So they think, it's just not on their radar. But these diseases really happen. People really get sick. And you don't want it to happen to you because you can have permanent medical problems as a result of this. You can have infections in your family and friends. It really is worth getting this stuff sorted.
And it's so easy.
And it's so easy.
So therefore, basically, it's a matter of picking up the phone, isn't it?
Pick up the phone, make a time, and we'd love to help you.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much, Deb. I appreciate your time. All the best.
Good.